Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. My name is Catherine Hecht. I'm the Executive Director and your host. Well, I'm the Executive Director of the Alexander Valley Film Society, and I'm your host for today's Focus on Bring Me an Avocado. Thrilled to welcome you to my virtual studio today from Cloverdale, California. And as the pandemic rages on, shelter in place carries on, it's been a great pleasure to come to you every Sunday at 2 p.m. And thanks to our sponsors and donors like you, we've been able to keep this program complimentary for all of our viewers and listeners. And today is no exception. So the first order of business is to thank those sponsors. We want to thank Michael Finelli, a luxury residential specialist with Sotheby's International Realty. He's been a longtime supporter of ours and totally a member of our family, so thank you, Michael. Healdsburg Hospital joins us as a sponsor, providing quality health care to Healdsburg, Windsor, Geyserville, Cloverdale, Sebastopol, and Bodega. And also thrilled to welcome into the family, or back to the family, I should say, Alain Perret and Johnny Drake, your compass in a complex real estate market. So thank you again to all of our sponsors who make this possible. And to those of you who were able to join us on Friday for Wonder Woman at the Carpool Cinema, we hope you had as much fun as we did. It was a perfect night for a movie, and it was the perfect heroine for our times. So today we have the great pleasure of talking about a new indie movie that has just made it onto streaming platforms called Bring Me an Avocado. Joining us in the studio today is director Maria Mealla and producer Bianca Beyrouti. Together, they're going to tell us a little bit about how the film came to be, how the film has been received, a little bit behind the scenes of what we might expect next, and just a little bit about them as filmmakers. So without further ado, please help me welcome both Maria and Bianca into the studio. And technique, there we go.
Hi.
Hello. Welcome. It's so terrific to have you both here. I know you might as well be in Hong Kong or halfway around the world, but as I understand, you're both in San Francisco, correct?
Yes.
And so
3 months.
And Bianca, we have a little bit of a time delay, so let's see if we can't get that to pony up. Bianca, can you say hello for us?
Hello.
Hello. Okay, so your sound is a little delayed. Maria, can you say something?
Hello.
Okay. You know what? I tell you what, we're having a delay. Could I ask the two of you to quickly log off and then just come right back on?
Mm-hmm.
We'll keep this open. I'm sure I'll say something halfway entertaining in the meantime. Yeah, just click out of here and come back in.
Okay.
Oh, the magic of electronics, technology, the internet, and bandwidth. I'm sure it has nothing to do with my internet. I'm sure there's nothing wrong on my side. Okay, here's Bianca.
Hello again.
Hello again. And Maria?
Hi. Is that better?
It's a little better. Okay, you know what? We got a comment. It's Joseph Orion says the sound is good on his end. So we will just continue. Anyway, let's start over. Maria, where in San Francisco are you?
I am on Nob Hill.
On Nob Hill. Okay, and Bianca?
I'm on another hill in the Excelsior neighborhood, much further south.
Got it. Well, and you two, is this the first film that you've collaborated on together?
It is. It is. As Maria joked about recently, like since as we were preparing, we mentioned the whole like movie marriage and like us being movie wives, and like when our movie came out, it was actually like 4 years to the day of her like asking if I would like, or like confirming that I had like agreed to produce the movie.
Oh my gosh, 4 years. It's a long gestation period, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Maria, is this, I know that you've produced and you've written other projects. Is this the first feature film that you've directed?
This is my feature debut, as in the first one that I'm sharing with the world, but I do have like a secret unreleased feature that I worked on a few years back.
How mysterious.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't even seen it.
some marriage secrets already. Wow. So Maria, so you are the writer and the director of Bring Me an Avocado. Congratulations. And I should have started with that. Congratulations to you, Maria and Bianca. This is such an exciting moment, I feel sure, for you to have your work finally being shared with the rest of the world. Can you tell us a little bit about this moment and what it feels like to be looking at at least having it finished and having it out and sharing it with audiences?
You are breaking up a little bit, but did I hear right that it is, you're asking about what it feels like right now to have the movie out in the world?
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me okay, or am I breaking up for you?
I can hear you okay.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, so you had it right. What is it like now that the movie's out in the world and finally being able to be shared with audiences beyond the festival?
I love it. It's excellent. It's actually been like a good respite in the pandemic, because it's helped us connect with a bunch of people. I think one of the weird phenomenons of it is like people discovering it on their own, like Bianca and I crowdfunded for the film. We pushed it at festivals, and it was always like, it made sense how we were bringing the project to people, all of the connections were traceable. But now that the film is out in the world, we have like,
oh no. Why aren't you getting to the good part?
Oh no. Bianca, well, let's go to you then. I mean, as a producer, here you are. You've got a slice of life to share now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge milestone, and it's one that we've pushed for a long time. And our goal has always been specifically to release the film online. Like, we never had a theatrical plan in mind. So just to see that part of the journey come to fruition is really exciting. And as Maria was saying, it's like really gratifying to hear like how people are discovering it, and just like for people who are like less connected to the film, like outside of our like friend groups and our networks of other filmmakers, like how they're receiving it. And so far it's been really warmly received, which, releasing a movie during a pandemic, it's like, who knows, like, is it gonna be like, so it's been really affirming to hear people are enjoying it.
I'm so glad. And Maria, you were telling us before you scantered off into the hinterlands there, your experience about having it out in the world now. Can you tell us about that?
I'm gonna try to log on one more time because I'm having like a weird delay where I can't hear you guys very well.
Okay.
Let me give it one more shot.
Yeah, sure. Take your time. Bianca, I want to talk a little bit more about that. Let's dig into planning an online release versus a theatrical release. What was your thinking behind all that?
Well, our thinking behind having an online distribution plan was very much driven by like who we wanted to see the film. And, just with a lot of the film having, a diverse audience, and, with both Maria and our lead actor being from Bolivia, it was really important that, international audiences have a chance to see the film, and just the online, route made a lot more sense in that regard.
That's really interesting considering where we are now. I mean, because now we're just seeing a hyper connected world using these same tools when they work, obviously. But that's such an interesting strategy for the reasons that you mentioned. Maria, how is this working for you now?
Perfect. I can hear you guys way better now. Sorry about that.
No, not at all. It was funny because we were just talking to Bianca about the deliberate strategic move to release the film online as opposed to having a theatrical release and being able to, she was talking about opening it up to a larger, broader audience, especially a more international audience. And going back just a second, I really do want to hear what it's been like for you having the film out there, people discovering it, so on and so forth.
It's been great. It's a great connector to the world to have it out there, and it is, I mean, you saw it, so it is an intimate story, it's a very real story about people that are spending the majority of their time in one house, and people who relate to it, I'm glad that they can see it in the comfort of their homes, with like their people and their loved ones. And when they reach out to me, like reading some of those reviews and having people reach out on Twitter who I didn't really know that well, who, because of the film, feel somewhat closer to us, and they're willing to share like these stories or how it affected them or like a similar story that they went through in their experience of grief is amazing. And it's made me feel a lot more connected to the community, to like, not necessarily the community, but like humans out there, the worldwide, of people experiencing this kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mean to project my own experience onto the two of you, but I just can't imagine a better response to have people watch your story and feel a connection with the storytellers, a compulsion to want to reach out and let you know what their experience has been, and then to share it with their own families and friends like that. I mean, that sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is. It was awesome. And so, on what Bianca was saying a little bit, it is what we intended originally with the film. We knew that this wasn't like the experience that we were hoping for viewers to have wasn't like a theatrical experience, it was a more intimate experience. We wanted them to be able to see it in a place where they can kind of linger in the feeling of the film afterwards and not necessarily be in a place where the lights are going to go out and then they're going to go out into the world,
Yeah, I definitely want to talk to you more about this. Lex Sloan, who is a friend of mine from the Roxy down in San Francisco, is the one who introduced us. And Lex and I have talked about film in a way that kind of touches on what you're beginning to articulate for me, which is the immediacy and the access of storytelling and how we have assigned it a certain process in terms of, we receive movies through the theater. And obviously that has been changing, and the pandemic has forced the process to the breaking point probably faster than it was going to get there initially. But what you're bringing up is so interesting about being able to linger in the intimacy of your own home with a story and the characters that you've just met and witnessed. Has this been a through line in your work previously to this?
I mean, I write and direct a lot of slice of life type of stuff, I don't direct like big crazy things that are more catered to the cinematic experience. I do have to say that like having a festival run was incredible because you can feel the synergy of everybody experiencing same moments, without adding any spoilers, but that first moment in the first 10 minutes of the film, feeling like the whole theater, like a packed theater tense up to that moment, or that are like a lot more tender, when you start like really understanding what the characters are going through, there's something to say about having a group experience of that, because we do kind of like share these emotions, right? It's why like we've always, I think as a species, want to gather together, right? Whether it be like theater or sports, we just love like that sharing of emotions, so I don't want to speak against that. I do have like some scripts, magical realism stuff that I think would cater better to it, but for this particular story, because it is like so intimate and it explores things that we don't often see in the media, grief is a beast, eventually we all go through it, and for some reason, there's like the stigma attached to it, the shame, not necessarily shame, but this pain, like this discomfort of wanting to like talk about the actual experience. And because nobody talks about it, it's not normalized, like what we live through in those like small private moments, you know? And that's what we were kind of trying to show in the film. And I think that in like an experience of watching that, somebody like illustrating what that's like once you've experienced it, when you're kind of like revisiting those emotions, you know, you want to be in a place that's cozy and familiar. So
absolutely. And I do want to echo what you said too. I think it's a both and. Nothing will replace the theatrical experience, nor should it. I hope that we never have to experience a life or a world without movie theaters. Specifically, I own one, so that would be such a tragedy. But I don't think we're headed in that direction, to be honest. I just think it's interesting to explore the intimate storytelling that you're talking about. So why this particular story? Obviously, you have either experience or knowledge firsthand of grief and how it affects a family. How did this particular story come to be?
So I started writing Bring Me an Avocado back in 2014 originally, and it was after my mom was diagnosed with early onset dementia as a terminal illness. So without wanting to explore that specific experience, what I wanted to explore was more how my family and loved ones were reacting to it, you know? Because I myself was reacting in ways that I would have never assumed I would, you know, it just like unpacked personality traits that I didn't know I had, you know, It's, you know, living through something totally new. So putting Robin in a coma in the film kind of allowed me to explore how the rest of the family experiences it and goes through it. And all the different, you know, reactions that people can have to grief in all of the ensemble cast. So that's how I started writing it.
And Bianca, at what point did you become attached to the project?
I became attached in summer 2016. So as I mentioned earlier, like almost exactly 4 years ago was when Maria and I first met to discuss the possibility of collaborating on the project. And even at that point, we didn't know each other super well. Like we knew each other more through our, you know, filmmaking community here in San Francisco. And at that point, I had already produced several feature films over the years prior, and shorts, sorry. Several shorts, and was looking to sort of step up into producing a feature. And so the timing just ended up working out really well for the both of us.
So speaking of which, how then, so did you meet through the filmmaking community in San Francisco?
Yeah, specifically, we had known of each other through a filmmaking collective called Scary Cow. And we hadn't, you know, as I said, you know, worked together on anything at that point, but knew a lot of, you know, folks in that network. And, you know, she had made, you know, some shorts through Scary Cow as well. So it was just seemed like inevitable that we would, you know, cross paths more directly. And yeah, that's how it happened.
So Maria, you start writing the script in 2014, and you're exploring some of these big themes. How did you get to the casting or identifying who the characters needed to be? So I guess that's a step before casting, but how did you start to identify those characters?
That's an interesting question. I've never been asked that before. I think I just was pulling people from my life, I guess people that I know, and giving them the traits of, you know, family members that were going through these things. I mean, the sisters, both sets of sisters, the young daughters, you know, daughters, as well as Robin, who's in a coma, and her sister Grease, have a lot of me and my sister in them. I have an older sister and a younger sister, so both of those dynamics have from that as well. And the character of George is based on, I don't know, he has like the best traits of all the men in my life to kind of, I guess, compensate for all of the shitty things he does in the film. I try to make people by, you know, being like a splash of my dad, you know, and a
Yeah.
husband and my brothers, you know.
But,
Yeah.
you know, one of the things that I really appreciated about the film is that you let the characters do crappy things and crappy things to cope, and various levels of processing while they're happening, and yet the two young sisters remain this kind of pure, peaceful anchor for the duration of the film. Can you tell us a little bit more about that relationship?
In writing?
Yeah, writing, like what was it a deliberate choice to use the two younger sisters as both witness? To me, it seemed like they were both witness and they were experiencing what was happening, but they were also not getting into the same kind of chaos that the adults were getting into. They seemed to really anchor the story.
Yeah, for sure. I've worked a lot with kids in my life, and one of my last jobs before I jumped into film was working at a group home with teenagers that had been removed from their homes, and actually had like really great relationships with them. And those are kids that are all going through some level of grief, you know, and trauma. And I think I took a lot from how much they internalized that. You know, like, again, going through day-to-day activities and routines and seeing how it happens in like hiccups, you know, like how they want to like express that, but also just be kids still. And I also worked at a bunch of daycares, and I have like nieces and nephews. And I think that as a child, like the character of Isabel, you experience grief totally differently. Totally differently. So I was trying to be true to those observations, you know, and those experiences that I've had with people of those ages.
So Bianca, a question for you. Is, as you're working on the film, what kinds of things from a producer's perspective, I'm always curious what exactly a producer does. I know it kind of changes film to film, our audiences too. What kind of things did you feel like you brought to this particular project that were unique to this project?
That's a good question. For me, as a producer, regardless of the scale or scope of the project, it's really important that there be like sort of a creative sort of partnership. And I just really resonated with the story that Maria was trying to tell and how well she told it just on the page. And I saw there just an opportunity to bring that sort of like understanding of story and character and like nurturing that you know, element of the story. And then, you know, the other aspects, like the business aspects, the fundraising, like those were things I also had, you know, experience with, particularly on the fundraising side of things. Like I had done crowdfunding campaigns before, you know, for some shorts that I produced. So I had that experience as well. But, you know, a lot of the other business, you know, aspects, we, you know, kind of had to learn along the way, but we got to learn them together. So yeah, just the partnership around like the story, and as you know, Maria was touching on, like it isn't the experiences that she was, you know, portraying in the story are things that it's like I could relate to, and I could be like, you know, really envision like in my mind's eye as I was reading it, but you know, and the possibility of like putting that on screen, you know, for other people to see when, you know, it's not really seen in a more broad way, like that, like those are the kinds of stories I'm drawn to as a producer, and so that really kind of hooked me.
And what can you tell us a little bit about the casting process? Who was involved in that, and at what point in the process of the filmmaking it took place?
Yeah. I mean, also just to add, because Bianca's being really humble, but she was like involved in the whole damn thing, you know. Decisions, you know, like a lot of those. I'm a very like collaborative director, you know. I want to hear everybody's point of view, you know. I want to hear everything, what people are thinking, because it often, you know, it just unpacks things in your head that maybe points out your blind spots that you might not have. And Bianca was like a great, not only sounding board, but advisor in like the casting process while we were looking for locations, even while we were cutting the scenes, because we cut the script like straight up to the day before we were shooting. We were still making edits and cut the script and budget for time, you know, all those things. So yeah, I wanted to, you know, throw out there that she was like a great creative partner as well. As were, yeah, Gavin, my editor, Anna. Yeah, there's like, you know, I'm gonna start calling people like crazy, but yeah, definitely, you know, there's big support there. As far as the casting process goes, we started it. I guess we brought Bernardo on first, I want to say.
Yeah. So, for us, it was that was important, like getting the father.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was in contact with a friend of mine, Reynaldo Pacheco, who's an excellent actor in and of his own right. And he's pretty well known. I think he's the most famous actor out of Bolivia right now. But not right for this part. And I was like, hey, you need to help me find, like, I'm looking for like, you know, the Latin, like I need the indie film Oscar Isaac. And he was like, I know just the guy. And he like sent me Bernardo and introduced us. What's up?
Great description. Yeah.
Exactly. And I sent him the script and he fell in love with the character. Like at first he was like very iffy, you know, like Reynaldo was a friend in common, which made us talk it all, but he was like, I don't know, man. And super ultra low budget film in San Francisco. He didn't know if he was into it. And then he read the script and like called me and he was like, I am this character. I am this man. You know? And I was like, great, you know, let's do it. So we brought him on pretty early and he was actually, I mean, he sat with that script for almost a year because we had to push up filming twice because of funding, like trying to get the right funding and as things were, you know, falling apart and falling back together. So he had it for a whole year. And the character of Robin, as I was writing it, I already knew that was going to be Sarah Burkhalter. She's one of my dearest friends, one of my closest friends, and we met going to St. Edward's University where we both studied theater. And I was studying as a director, and she was like probably one of the best actresses that was there while I was going to school. So I already knew that she was excellent. And as I was writing it with her in mind, you know, knowing
nice
we're both pulling off. The kids, we auditioned them together. Bianca, you want to tell some of that stuff?
Yeah. So first we did both Isabel and Matilda in tandem. And the first person that we saw for Isabel was California Poppy Sanchez, who we ended up casting in the film. And, you know, even leading up to it, as I was, you know, scheduling, you know, her audition with her mom, even in email, she was like, you know, you don't need to see those other kids because Poppy is your girl. Sort of like took it with a grain of salt, and then we saw her and we're like, oh, she was right. You know, she just had that, you know, that precociousness and that sweetness. Like she really got the part. And then for Michaela Robles, who played Matilda, she wasn't the first person that we saw for that role, but like she just had the most like emotional maturity. Like she really just kind of got under the skin of that character. And, you know, later on, you know, in, you know, developing that, you know, working relationship with her and with her mom, we found out that her mom, Christina, was battling cancer. And so it's really understood, I think, without really articulating it, you know, because I don't think, you know, kids that age necessarily have that kind of language, you know.
Right.
Definitely that came across in her audition, and you know, sadly her mom is no longer with us, but she it was really that yeah, she just brought that emotional understanding like right out the gate, and yeah, we were really lucky with the two of them.
You know what you were just reminded me of, Bianca, in talking about Michaela's casting, I think, Maria, what you really captured in the story is the messiness of grief and how I think you used the word unpacking You had your own, so much unpacking to do, and it gets so tangled and so messy. And I just really appreciate, as an audience member, I appreciate watching characters who are not neat and tidy, that it doesn't necessarily come to a resolve, that it's a through line that we don't get to see the end of the through line for all the characters. And I really appreciate you trusting us with that, and to mirror that, mirror that kind of experience for us and let us have that interpretation with you. So congratulations, well done. Do you have, Bianca, producer Bianca, can you tell our audiences today where exactly they can find the film if they haven't seen it already?
Yes. So Amazon Prime is where it came out July 1st. And people can also watch it on YouTube Movies and Google Play. We would really appreciate folks, if they have watched already and haven't left a review, or if they plan to watch it, we really appreciate people leaving their thoughts on the film and sharing that. Like, it's really important to sort of, like, as we have like joked, to sort of like, break the algorithm, just to get the film, exposed to more and more people. It's really important to have folks engaging it in that way. So Amazon Prime, Google Play, YouTube Movies.
Great. All right. And that's at the bottom of our screen here. As we're wrapping up, I have two more little questions. Obviously, the world is upside down right now, but are the two of you working on anything together right now, or have independent projects in the hopper?
You want to go first?
No, you go.
Not currently working on anything together right now, but we are both, have more creative things on the burners, more stuff cooking. Yeah, on a pilot right now, and I've got a couple of shorts that I really, really want to make that got pushed indefinitely right now. But yeah, that's what we got.
Excellent. Bianca, how about you?
I'm in a similar place. There was a short that I was co-producing that was like pretty far along in pre-production before Corona hit, which has been delayed indefinitely. And that one was kind of a bummer because it was really specifically aimed with a summer shoot and very location specific, and so it probably won't be until next summer, depending on what the climate is around production at that point. But there is another short that's earlier on in pre-production that my friend Rob Fatal is writing and directing. They just participated in the Native Filmmaker Labs through Sundance with this script. So it's really exciting to see them, achieve that success and to get to partner with them, because we've worked on some stuff here and there before. But to collaborate again in this way is something we're looking forward to. Again, no dates or anything concrete, but that's another one I'm attached to at this point.
So lastly, we like to do a little lightning round on our way out. But before we get there, the two of you, I'd like to hear any thoughts you might have for somebody who's just starting to get into filmmaking and storytelling. Anything you might, words of wisdom, want to pass on, or things to avoid, or probably something a little bit more general, but anything you'd like to say to upcoming storytellers and filmmakers? Maria?
Make sure that when you're picking your team, it's people that you want to be in constant contact with for the next 2 to 3 years of your life. I lucked out with Bianca, but we didn't know each other at all when we started this partnership. So call it very lucky. What else? You're going to have to you need to know the business of filmmaking as much as you need to know the art of it. That's really
great advice.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Bianca, how about you? Oh, Maria, yes. Did you have a last thought?
100% to the two of those things. And I would say especially for folks who are creating their own stories, and I hear this echoed quite a bit, but I have to, say it as well, to really sort of find your voice and stay true to that, because I think ultimately that's what, people, I think that's what resonates with people in terms of like storytelling, like showing them something that's like unique to you, but that they can also find common ground in. So it's sort of cliche, but the like finding and owning your voice piece, I think is super important.
Oh, cliche or not, it's so good to hear these days, especially. Well, I can't thank you enough, but before we let you go, though, I have a couple of lightning round questions for you. They're very serious. We will be taking notes. Bianca, coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Maria?
Coffee.
Maria, pizza or pasta?
Pizza.
Bianca?
Pizza.
Okay.
This is why we're perfect.
The marriage is working. Okay. Yeah. How about one last one? Bianca, woods or beach?
Ooh, that's such a tough one. I'm contemplating at the moment, but beach usually wins for me.
Okay. And Maria?
Whichever is less crowded.
I ID with that. That's terrific. Thank you so much, both of you, for being here. What a pleasure. Congratulations again on a fantastic film and for having it out there in the world for all of us to enjoy right now. Best of luck to both of you, and I hope to see you here again soon.
Thank you so
Have
much.
a great afternoon.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, and as for the rest of you out there, the rest of you Yahoos, thank you so much for tuning in today. We are so grateful to be able to bring this program to you. And once more, let's thank our sponsors. We have Alain Pire and Johnny Drake from Compass Realty. We have Healdsburg Hospital, and of course, Michael Finelli from Sotheby's International Realty. To all of you, stay safe out there. And until we meet again next Sunday, stay safe, stay sane, and stay connected. Take care. Bye-bye.